I'm Elizabeth, 66. Sitting on the balcony of my cozy little apartment, I'm looking at the city lights twinkling in the distance. It's been 6 months since the day my daughter, Lily, threw me out of the house I'd lived in for 30 years. That day was like a nightmare, but it also became the turning point of my life. I remember the shock and pain as if it were yesterday. Lily, with her husband, Ethan, sat across from me at the dining table during our monthly Sunday lunch. The tension in the air was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Lily hadn't looked me in the eye since I arrived, and Ethan was unusually quiet, his eyes fixed on his plate. Lily started complaining about the undercooked potatoes, and I, out of habit, offered to heat them up. But she snapped at me, telling me not to bother. I sank back into my seat, a familiar feeling of disappointment settling in my chest. Then, out of the blue, Lily said that they couldn't have me around anymore. She claimed that I was a burden, constantly needing help and taking up space in their lives. I was stunned. This was my home, the place where I'd raised her and where I'd lived with my late husband, David, for so many years. But Lily coldly reminded me that since David passed away, the house had been in her name. I'd trusted her when she said it was just a legal formality to protect me in case I needed nursing care. How naive I was. She stood up, shouting about how much it cost to maintain the house and pay for my medications. She even called me a freeloader, first relying on David and then on them. Tears welled up in my eyes as I remembered all the sacrifices I'd made for her. After David died when Lily was only 12, I'd worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs during holidays. I'd sold my jewelry to buy her first car and skipped meals when money was tight. I'd put her through college, postponing my own grief to be strong for her. But Lily didn't care. She demanded that I leave by that night. When I asked where I could go, she simply said it wasn't her problem and stormed out of the room. 20 minutes later, she came into my room, yanking open my closet and pulling out my clothes. She marched them through the house and threw them onto the front lawn for everyone to see. I stood there, watching in horror as my life was scattered across the grass. Ethan, pale-faced, tried to stop her, but she ignored him. Neighbors across the street stared, and Lily shouted that I was a burden. I felt so humiliated, like a piece of garbage being thrown away. Mrs. Thompson from next door offered to help, but Lily told her to mind her own business. I thanked Mrs. Thompson softly, though inside I was broken. As I drove away from the house, watching it disappear in the rear view mirror, I felt a part of me shatter. But beneath the heartbreak, a tiny spark of determination ignited. I moved into a small 1-bedroom apartment in a senior living complex. My old friend, Martha, took me in that first night and helped me find this place the next day. In the apartment, surrounded by the few possessions I'd salvaged, I cried myself to sleep for 3 days. I kept hoping Lily would call to apologize, but the calls never came. One day, Martha reminded me of something I'd kept secret for years. David, always the forward thinker, had inherited a 5-acre piece of land from his grandfather. When he was diagnosed with a terminal illness, he knew he wouldn't live to old age. The night before he died, he made me promise not to tell Lily about the land until she was mature enough. At that time, the land seemed worthless, just scrubby fields on the outskirts of town. But 15 years ago, the city started expanding in that direction. Developers built a shopping center and housing developments nearby, and the value of the land skyrocketed. The last offer I'd received was just over $2 million. Realizing that Lily would never be mature enough, I decided to take action. I visited my lawyer, Mr. Harris, who had been David's friend and had managed our affairs for years. I told him what had happened and that I wanted to change my will. Most of my estate would go to charitable organizations that help elderly people abandoned by their families. A small portion would go to my grandson, Oliver's education fund, to be controlled by a trustee. And for Lily, there would be a modest amount, but with strict conditions. After I signed the new will, I arranged for a copy to be sent to Lily. Not long after, she called me, her voice suddenly sweet and controlled. She said she'd overreacted and that we needed to talk. She invited me to dinner, saying she'd make my favorite pot roast. I went to the dinner, but I wasn't fooled. The candles, the good china, and the pot roast were all just a show. Lily started by apologizing, but as the conversation went on, it became clear that she was only interested in the land. She listed all their so-called financial struggles, like Oliver's private school, the house's new roof, and pool maintenance. But I thought about my tiny apartment, where I'd been counting pennies to afford my arthritis medication. I told her I was comfortable in my new place and that I'd joined a support group for elderly people mistreated by their families. This made Lily angry. She accused me of airing our private business to strangers. Then I dropped a bombshell. I told her I knew about her credit card debt, the $27,000 she'd spent on clothes, spa treatments, and a weekend trip to Vegas that she'd lied to Ethan about. Ethan was shocked, and Lily's facade of sweetness crumbled. She tried to defend herself, but I wasn't having it. I also revealed that she'd been planning to take out a home equity loan, but couldn't do it with me living in the house because of legal complications. The dinner ended in a mess. As I left, Ethan apologized and said he'd never wanted this. He promised to talk to Lily when she calmed down. 2 weeks passed without a word from them. Then, Ethan called to tell me that things had been difficult between him and Lily since my dinner visit. He also said that Lily was still fixated on my property and was planning to contest my new will, claiming I wasn't mentally competent. I was prepared. I'd made sure Mr. Harris had documented everything, and I'd been evaluated by 2 doctors to prove my mental competence. Lily then asked me to meet her for coffee at a downtown cafe. When I saw her, she looked a mess, a far cry from the well-put-together woman at the dinner. She started complaining about Ethan, saying he was being unreasonable and threatening divorce. Then she got to the point, trying to convince me to work something out regarding the property. I told her I knew about her plan to contest the will. Her face went pale when I showed her that I was recording our conversation and that Mr. Harris had all the evidence. She became angry and bitter, saying I'd won and that she didn't need me or my money. She stormed out of the cafe, leaving me alone at the table. But things took a turn for the better. Ethan filed for divorce, and Oliver started coming to my apartment regularly. He's a bright 14-year-old, and spending time with him has been a joy. Ethan has also been a great support. He made it clear that I'll always be Oliver's grandmother and that I'm welcome in their lives. 6 months have passed since that fateful day. I've finalized my estate plan with Mr. Harris. The trust for Oliver is secure, and the charitable foundation is up and running. I've enrolled in a literature course at the community college. My classmates respect my insights, and I've even become known for my homemade cookies. I've also met Robert, Martha's recently widowed brother-in-law. He's a retired English professor with kind eyes and a great sense of humor. Our friendship is growing, and he's invited me on a weekend trip to the coast next month. Lily has been sober for 2 months and is attending therapy as part of the custody arrangement with Ethan. She sent me a text saying she wanted to talk. I'm ready to listen, but I'll face whatever comes next on my own terms. The woman who stood on the front lawn, watching her clothes being thrown away, is gone. In her place is a stronger, wiser, and truly free me. I've learned that it's never too late to start over and find joy in life.